Hi, it's Iyara with a clip about the upcoming solar eclipse that takes place on Thursday, April 20th at 6:11 a.m. in the morning here in Central Europe, where the eclipse is not visible. It can only be seen in Southeast Asia, New Zealand, and Australia. It's a quite powerful and rare hybrid eclipse, and if you are interested, the NASA will offer a live stream. Hybrid means that the series to which this eclipse belongs, which is Saros cycle 129, is mutating from annular to total. At its beginning, the eclipse will be annular, at its peak, total, and in the end, again annular. It is the third and last hybrid eclipse of Saros cycle 129, and the next one will be entirely total in 2041. There is usually only one hybrid eclipse per decade, that is, one of 40 or 50 eclipses. The next hybrid eclipse, although not from this same series, will take place in 2031, within 8 years. It is an unusual eclipse that brings this mutable quality of change and transformation, and whose effects we are already feeling and will continue to experience in the next 4 or 5 months. The new moon eclipses the sun in the fire sign of Aries, close to Rahu, the lunar north node, who relates to the qualities of desire, movement, and the element of air. This air feeds the fire, and we must be prepared to handle the heat, the friction, and the confusion and sometimes panic which can appear when a fire burns. Mercury and Uranus conjunct the eclipse in Aries and bring discernment and an understanding that can be unexpected, like a sudden insight or an instantaneous download of information. The planetary ruler of the eclipse is fiery Mars, placed in sidereal Gemini, the sign of Mercury, whilst Mercury is in Aries, the sign of Mars. This is a Parvitarna Yoga of mutual reception that makes both planets, signs, and houses powerful. We are called to walk our talk and be also truthful, honest, upright. Mars is also out of bounds until the beginning of May, which means that Mars moves beyond the 23 degrees 27 minutes of declination north or south, the celestial equator, where the planets normally travel. Mars, the planet of desire, passion, and action, is the most erotic of the visible planets and the one that most frequently skips this rule, followed by the Moon, Mercury, and Venus. Planets out of bounds are eccentric, original, fun, and passionate, They are more visionary and creative than usual, and they need freedom and space and don't respond well to any kind of restriction. Mars out of bounds gives us more energy, more willpower, strength and endurance, more audacity and courage, and a great desire for new adventure, new goals, new challenges, with great confidence and often a lot of impulsive risk-taking. This powerful energy of Mars combines with the radical energy of Uranus and the intense and sometimes eccentric energy of Rahu that can become obsessive and disruptive when the lunar north node goes after the fulfillment of its desires. There is a lot of desire, of passion or enthusiasm, intensity, tension and pressure in the air, in the environment that might be difficult to handle and to direct in a clear direction. What is the target, the goal? The eclipse is aspected by Saturn, who does not resonate well with so much fire and wants us to make an effort to channel this energy in a responsible way. We may encounter difficulties, delays and obstacles if we are not firmly rooted in witness consciousness and able to observe and identify what it is that we need to see, to dissolve, to integrate. It could be our relationship with outer or inner authority, which is a theme that the conjunction between Rahu and the Sun normally brings up. And Pluto is in square with the eclipse and adds fear to the intense emotional mix. We might be afraid of the new that sometimes is imposed on us, or we fear to go for the new thing or new way we do want, but not dare to say or choose because of that outer or inner authority that dominates our psyche and does therefore not grant us enough freedom or space. This solar eclipse is a kind of wake-up call that urges us to dare to be as individualistic, eccentric, genuine and different as we really are, and go for what is important to our heart and our soul. We may feel called to make some sudden statement or move, or an unexpected or repressed urge or a deep hidden desire can show up and sweep us off our feet. This is what characterizes this series of eclipses, Saros cycle 129, and it can turn our lives upside down. It has been certainly my case when the last two hybrid eclipses of this series hit in 2005 and 1987. Do you remember what happened in your life in these 2 years? Desire is what moves us all day, because we long for contentment, happiness, bliss, And there are many things that we desire that promise happiness, and sometimes other human beings who we expect to give us the desired happiness can become the object of our desire. Or we buy something, want to attain something, or we do practice something, always to get closer to a more blissful state of being. What do we really want and need? Are we still launching our desires into the outward world, or is there perhaps an inner desire to merge with our divine essence that could get fired up by this eclipse? It is always advised to meditate at the hour of an eclipse, but the yogis, and especially the tantrikas, use the intensity of the energy at our disposal to ride the waves of transformation. It is, of course, very easy to get lost or encounter fear or confusion when we experience such an intense energy, when we are not centered in our inner power, in our heart space, in connection with the higher self. On a global level, we can certainly expect a lot of heat and fires, movement of tectonic plates, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, maybe plane crashes, and probably an intensification of the many armed conflicts in the world. Jupiter will enter sidereal Aries on April 22nd, 2 days after the eclipse. And at the time of the eclipse, Jupiter is in Gandanta, in the last degree of the water sign of Pisces, and will continue in Gandanta in the first degree of the fire sign of Aries until April 27th. And as this brings much instability, insecurity, and distortion, it is not convenient to travel until April 28th, taking also into account that Mercury will turn retrograde on April 22nd. Our bodies can easily somatize so much intensity. And as the head is the body part associated with the sign of Aries, we might experience easily headaches, problems with the eyes or high blood pressure, and stress on the nervous system. We can massage our head as well as our feet with some nice coconut oil, and we should avoid spicy and salty food and eat cooling grapes, dates, watermelons, cucumber, apples, lettuce, but not always cold and raw, because there might be not only an excess of pitta, but vata is most likely also disturbed, and it is not good for vata to eat cold, raw and dry food. And the answer to the big question of how to center ourselves in our inner power, which is the key for handling and directing the energy of the eclipse, comes from the star constellation of Ashwini, where the eclipse falls in the lunar zodiac. Ashwini occupies the first 13 degrees 20 minutes of Aries and is the lunar mansion where the Sun is exalted in the third pada of Gemini. And that is interesting because Gemini is the sign of the twins. And the Ashwini Kumara, who are the presiding deity of the lunar mansion of Ashwini, are also twins and children of the sun Surya, whose firstborn children, Yama and Yami, are twins as well. Here we have the principle of the one, the sun, Atma, who stands for our soul and the one divine essence, becoming two and many, dividing and multiplying itself. This is the principle of creation. The one becomes two, and the two need to become one again. The duality of this temporary world and the oneness of the ultimate truth need to be conciliated. Isn't it interesting that the Ashwini Kumaras are the result of the reconciliation that took place between their father and their mother, Surya and Sanjana, who found finally a way how to relate, a space in between. Next, the Ashwini Kumaras are horsemen, fast and furious, which is why Ashwini rules all forms of transportation and fast travel, metaphysically from darkness to light. And they are the physicians of the gods, for whom they provide honey with healing herbs. And together with goddess Saraswati, they introduced Soma, the nectar of immortality, to the gods and their cult. The Shakti of Ashwini, in fact, is the power to quickly create a disease-free reality. In that regard, it is important to understand the link to Saraswati, who helped the Ashwini Kumaras greatly. The goddess plays the veena, a musical instrument with 7 strings, and she plays it with both hands, which stands for the 2 hemispheres of the brain coming into balance. The human body, with its different koshas and 7 different dhatus, is also an instrument for divine music being played. And there is a link between Saraswati and the nadis, the energy channels of the human body. Saraswati stands for these nadis, for the energy flowing unobstructedly through the channels, and that creates harmony. The Ashwini Kumaras did not only heal with herbs, but they created flow and harmony in the body, not stagnation, nor getting lost in extremes. And that is the guideline for this eclipse. Ashwini has to do with creation, with Brahma's dream, and every time we do inspire, we inspire Brahma's desire to create something in this temporary world, in this human experience. Whilst expiring, we let go of these desires and turn to Shiva, or the ultimate reality. Ashwini emphasizes the importance of the space in between, the homeostasis of Vishnu that we can find in the 2 points or Dvadashantas, where the breath stops for a moment before reversing its path. We can connect with these points in meditation, of course, and also be aware of our breath throughout the day, so that we are centered in beingness and have access to guidance. We can place an image of the Ashwini Kumaras and Goddess Saraswati on our altar, light a candle and an incense, maybe sage, lavender or angelica, which are all cleansing and protecting fragrances, and chant this mantra related to Aries and Saraswati. Om Am Aim Namaha. Om Am Aim Namaha. Om Am Aim Namaha. My best wishes to all of you and see you soon. There will be a lunar eclipse in 2 weeks on May 5th. Take care.